Welcome to this month's edition of the ThirdEye View with me, Chris Holmes, and my absolutely brilliant colleague, Claire Rees. Each month we look at what's really happening in the UK financial crime landscape. So Claire, what's been happening?
It's been a really, really busy month, Chris. There's been some significant activity from the National Crime Agency this month. Over 2,700 UK businesses were raided as part of a crackdown on money laundering. These raids were coordinated by the NCA, included things like vape shops and takeaways and barber shops. So some significant results from that raid. Over 920 arrests. More than £10 million seized in cash, frozen bank accounts, criminal assets, more than 350 million illegal tobacco and hundreds of thousands of illegal vapes removed from sale, over 340 notices issued for illegal working and rent violations, and 450 plus businesses referred to Companies House for further investigation. So criminal activities linked to these activity included money laundering, drug dealing, human trafficking, and in one instance, a jeweller's shop was being allegedly linked to an investment fraud operation. So my takeaway from this, I guess, despite the fact that we hear about AI fraud, synthetic identities, and lots of technology-related financial crime being prevalent, this tells me that good old-fashioned cash-based money laundering is still prevalent in the UK, and that banks and financial services firms need to ensure that their processes, their know your customer and know your business processes, the training, the risk assessments are fit for all types of financial crime, including the traditional old-fashioned stuff.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of activity, really, isn't it? I think what really jumps out to me is the traditional nature of it and how much that's still a factor. So while everyone's talking about AI-driven fraud and synthetic IDs, the old school cash-based laundering is still very prevalent on the high street as well. And as you say, it's a reminder to have that strong KYC, KYB and risk assessment just as important as ever, really.
Yeah.
So what's next? What else has been going on?
Well, I guess the next story kind of follows on from that KYC and KYB requirement. So the FCA have fined Nationwide Building Society £44 million for failures in their financial crime controls. These failings date from 2016 to 2021. They involve risk assessments, due diligence and ongoing monitoring. In summary, Nationwide had some customers who were using personal accounts for business purposes. So it's noteworthy that Nationwide were not offering business accounts during this period. As a result, they were unable to assess the risks of these customers correctly, and they failed to apply the appropriate levels of due diligence and ongoing monitoring. The final notice is a really interesting read, but gives one significant example of the types of activity that failing to assess these risks can lead to, where red flags have been missed. So in this example, a customer's personal account was used for business purposes, and that business effectively was in receipt of fraudulent COVID furlough payments totaling more than £27 million. So the risk assessment, the customer due diligence, the ongoing monitoring, had that been in place, the FCA's view is that that would have been identified sooner. The final notice from the FCA also noted that Nationwide were aware of these weaknesses in their controls, but that they failed to take appropriate, timely action to address those control failures.
Well, it's really quite significant. I think this case really does serve as another warning to firms about the need for appropriate and effective AML and fin crime controls. And it really demonstrates the FCA's ongoing scrutiny around compliance. And as the first case against UK Building Society, it's clear that it's not just the big banks that are in their crosshairs.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next story, we're going back to the NCA again. They've had a really busy few months. So this one is Operation Destabilise, which has been described as one of the most significant money laundering operations in the past decade. This involved a vast operation where dirty cash, so the proceeds of crimes like drug trafficking, people trafficking, and lots of other crimes, but the street crime cash was collected by couriers from towns and cities across the UK. The cash was then converted into cryptocurrency, which was then sent via a bank in Kyrgyzstan onto Russia. Now, the criminal network had also bought the bank in Kyrgyzstan. So there were sanctions evasions issues, but also showing how these sophisticated money laundering is mixing the use of cash, crypto, corporate acquisition, in this case buying the bank, to launder money on a global scale and to evade sanctions.
That's, quite an extraordinary case, really. I mean, the scale and the sophistication are absolutely huge. To think there's UK street cash ending up financing Russian interests via crypto, and even the purchase of a foreign bank is just, it's just crazy. It shows how interconnected all of these networks are and why firms need monitoring that looks at the big picture and not just isolated transactions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're turning the tables on you this month, Chris. We've just had UK Finance's flagship economic crime conference, which I was sadly unable to attend this year. So, Chris, what were the key themes and takeaways for you from the day?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Claire. The ECC was absolutely brilliant this year. It was a real pleasure to attend. It was packed with great discussion, really big turnout. I think there was 650 plus people, lots of really great, interesting speakers. Highlight event for my year for sure. The big themes were definitely around collaboration, data sharing under ECTA, and how we can all use AI safely and effectively. I think my key takeaway was probably the industry shifting towards more proactive system-wide disruption. It's a real opportunity for us here at ThirdEye as well. And our direction of travel around smarter analytics and clearer insights, I think, is exactly what firms are going to be asking for. So, like Christmas presents, let's wrap it up for this month. You can find the links to everything we've talked about today in the blog that accompanies this episode. And as always, any questions or thoughts or feedback, I would really love to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Please like and share this, and we'll be back next year with the next episode of ThirdEye View.